I'm going to show you how to get the pandas Python package working on Tetralith as part of the course using Python in an HPC environment, which is taught or being given by these centers. So pandas is a Python package. I'll show you what it does soon and how to use it. We're going to read the documentation of our favorite HPC cluster, which is Tetralith. We'll find out why it's important, and we're going to run some code that uses Panda. I will also show a bit how to read a comma-separated file, and then I stop. I will only show the things that are HPC specific. It's part of a course using Python in the HPC environment. I will focus on that. Things like using pandas or learning more about it, that's beyond the scope of this course. You can do that on any computer. Here we're going to run pandas on an HPC cluster. Sure, we need to know what it is. Here I'll tell you what it is. According to the homepage, pandas is an data analysis and manipulation tool. It's in Python, it's a Python package. And for example, what it can do when you have data, let's say you have this kind of data, this is called wide data or messy data. Let's say you have it like this, then you can already see here it's unclear what the data is. That's an indication that it's not tidy data. We can infer that, or we can guess that these numbers are years and these values are some kind of score. Like the tidy equivalent of this looks like this. This is exactly the same data, but now in a tidy format. And now we see that the countries are countries. These numbers were indeed years, and the other numbers were at democracy level. Now, tidy data is way easier to work with other packages. So you want to transform your data from that to that. And for that, you can use pandas. This is all the code that you need to do for this. First you need to read the comma-separated file, and then you need to melt it from wide data to long data or tidy data. Pandas can do many other things than this, so here we see the word melt, but pivot is the opposite of it. But if you just take a look at the pandas cheat sheet, we'll see how many things it can do. So this is the pandas cheat sheet. Here we see what tidy data is. Here we create data frames, that's the word for the tables. Here we have reshaping of the data, like melt, pivot, concat, sorting values, rename. We can subset observations by row, by columns, by both of them. We can query data, but here we can group data or summarize it. We can handle missing data, make new columns. There's some plotting, there are some string operations, in, output, mapping. It has a lot of things. Right. Again, pandas allows you to work with tabular data. It is a very popular Python package and allows you to work with data. More importantly, it gives you a vocabulary to do so. So the words melting and pivot, those are verbs that are used in other programming languages as well, especially pivoting. In R, you have it's used there as well. Alright, so that's why it's important. It allows you to work with data, and it gives you the vocabulary and the Python functionality to do so. Alright, that is all we need to know so far. Now we're going to take a look at the exercise. So exercise 1 is running minimal code using pandas on an HPC cluster, which is Tetralith. And then I'm going to read a bit of a comma-separated file because there are some HPC specific things there. And the rest I'm going to leave it to you. Because this is not HPC specific anymore. Good, so let's start with exercise 1. Use the documentation of the HPC cluster you work on. Alright, that means I'm going to move this documentation to the left of my screen. And I'm going to start a new screen, Tetralith MSC user documentation. And here we have the Tetralith documentation. So NSC is the center. There are more stuff. Tetralith is one of the systems. but this is the documentation. Good. In that documentation, find a software module to load pandas. So to do that, I'm going to click on search. Here we have it, pandas, and let's see what we get. Just taking a short scroll here, we see already the word import pandas. Maybe that's a good thing to start. Maybe I'll start at the first hit. Now I have a page here, and I'm going to Control F to search for the word pandas. And this shows you how to search for pandas. Here it creates an environment with stuff. That's not what we need. We want to find the modules for pandas. This does not seem to be it. Let's take a look at another hit. So I'm going to close this page. This is not it. This is an older version. Maybe this is a good overview. I'm just going to search for the word pandas. Pandas. There, and here we find the word pandas. And what is it part of? Config and build options. So there's this thing apparently contains pandas. And it's this version of. So this is the Python module. Here we have the Python module. And here you load this module to find pandas. Good. This is what we're going to use. Because we need to find. Now we're going to load the software module to use pandas. Let's double check if the answer is exactly the same. Yes, so here we have the Tetralith documentation. Here we have a longer solution. I'm going to try out first this solution and then that one. Like the one at the left is tested, the one at the right. Let's get this tested now. Good. Let's load this module on Tetralith. I'm already logged in on Tetralith, so I can just copy this thing. Copy. There, I'm going to paste. Let's see if this seems to work. Seems to work perfectly fine. So this is the right documented answer. This is great. Next step. So we seem to have loaded it, but we're not sure yet. We're going to make a file called that and then add some code there. Sure. To do that, I'm going to put this at there. I'm going to close this documentation. I'm going to create a file using nano. There. Nano is a text editor. Here we see it pop up. Copy paste this code. Right mouse button to paste. Control O to save the file. I press enter to accept the name as suggested. And do Control X to exit. Good. Now I've created it. Now we need to run it. Well, let's do this. Panda, and you used it with Python and then pandas exercise 1. Now it's running my file, and let's see if it works. Because the goal of this exercise, yeah, it works. We see the version of pandas here. We can read this in the code quite obviously. You may be a bit surprised about these underscores. I'm not going to talk about why these are underscores, but it shows you the version of pandas. Great. Why is this a useful exercise? Because we now know that pandas does something. Like before we're doing anything useful with pandas, we now know it works. If at this phase it would not work, pandas would not work. Now we have some evidence that it will probably work. Good, let's take a look at exercise 2, and I will only show you the HPC parts of this. I will go through the start, you'll see where I end. Let's take a look. In this exercise we will first read the diamonds dataset. It's a dataset about diamonds, it's described there. Download this file in the same folder as where you are running your Python code. So the solution is wget, and then to now the file where you want to download it. So I'm just, if I do right click here, I can copy the link address. I paste this here. You can use Control Shift V here, and now I have downloaded the diamonds dataset. Like, I like to be sure, so I'm going to check the first line, the first 10 lines of this file, diamonds. the command head does this, and I see this looks indeed like a valid comma separated file with some diamond characteristics here, as at least the names of the columns, and here we see the characteristic of the first diamond. So that worked. So this head, this is one thing, this may be HPC specific, or let's say Linux specific. So that's why I discussed this. Next step, on your HPC, close to create a script called pandas exercise 2. Sure, let's do that. Nano pandas exercise 2. There. I use the arrow key up to get back to my older commands. Here I copy it, click Ctrl Shift V to paste to a terminal, Ctrl O to save, Enter to accept, Ctrl X to exit. And now we need to run this script. Well, for that I press up for my earlier commands, and now replace the 1 by a 2. There. What did the script do? Well, it showed the same data set, but now in a more nicer to read form. We see the columns here. We see that there are more columns in the middle. These dot 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 means that there are multiple columns there that are not displayed. There's also here these dot dot dots, which shows that there are some rows in between that are not displayed. Instead it shows us the first 5 diamonds and the last 5 diamonds. So that is what pandas did by, after reading this file, displaying it as a table. Good. That is the last this is the last HPC specific things. Now you need to run some extra code and then get the head of another file. You can do this without me. I have showed you how to use pandas on Tetralith as part of this course, and then we're going to wish you a very good day. Bye!